So Xbox Game Pass this September has gotten insane. We have the latest announcements from the Xbox Fall Showcase. We have officially stacked games here with 20 brand new titles to talk about in this video. My name is Sunny and we'll start this with the biggest announcement to drop today in Deathloop. This is from the makers of Dishonored. This is a first-person action title where you play as Colt, an assassin who has to take out 8 targets in a span of 24 hours. But the key part here is that if you happen to fail, the day starts completely over, essentially in a death loop as you learn from each encounter. Now each time you're going to gain new intel, you'll find new paths, you'll find better weapons and better upgrades, and essentially you'll get the best path forward to assassinate those targets. But one super unique aspect of the game is the way it combines the single player with multiplayer, which by the way is completely optional, where your rival Juliana can be controlled by a player who can interrupt your game and the main story by taking you out, and you'll end up having to start over, but you can also hop in her shoes and mess with another player's game as well. But if you guys are not into that in your own game, she'll just be controlled by the AI as she tries to murder you during your own loops. Deathloop is a game that has gotten multiple perfect scores, a Metacritic score of 87, and this now, in my opinion, becomes one of the best games on Game Pass to date, and it joins the lineup very soon on September 20th. So Assassin's Creed Odyssey, despite releasing back in 2018, today still comes out to be one of the best in the series as it combines everything that has made the franchise great with one of the better stories, has multiple endings, great action combat and gameplay. You can be that stealthy assassin, or you can take on things with brute force, and you'll be exploring a vast open world where you can customize your own ship as you travel through it. Guys, there's tons of loot to find and upgrade, there's special abilities. This is easily one of the most deep Assassin's Creed games today, one I can personally vouch for. It's a game with tons of potential, of hundreds of hours to mess with, and it just has a ton of content. Odyssey is now available for Game Pass for you to play today. So Danganronpa is now available on Game Pass today as you find yourself in prison and kidnapped in a school with a cast of 16 characters where some are going to die, some will eventually kill, and some are going to be punished. In what is a pretty story-rich, fast-paced investigation game where murders are as twisted as they can get as you try solving each murder or you just end up dead. Danganronpa is now available for the consoles, cloud, and PC. So our next game is Ni no Kuni White Witch Remastered. This is the newest JRPG to join Game Pass, and here you play as Oliver on a journey to bring back his mother after a devastating accident. Now it's a game that's rich, full of storytelling, has some very gorgeous visuals, pretty fun combat mixed with some very colorful animations, but I feel if you guys are new to JRPGs, this is one of the better games to start diving into, and even if you're a veteran, I really think you're going to appreciate the charming story and the characters that this game brings to life. The remastered version does come in with very improved graphics, and the cool thing, guys, is that this is now available via Game Pass today on consoles and PC. So Amazing Cultivation is the strategy sim and management title based on Chinese mythology that has you designing your own cultivation sect from scratch as you train new disciples through your school and you keep your students happy. You're going to be researching and filling your library with the knowledge of martial arts, medicine, magic, and gathering mystical artifacts, all while facing ancient dangers. You'll be also hunting evil beasts and demons. This is a title that's inspired by the game RimWorld and Dwarf Fortress and is now available to play on PC Game Pass. So Fuga Melodies of Steel is an RPG where you play as children who all have their own unique characteristics and skills that you'll be placing individually across a tank to fight to survive. Now the interesting part about this game is the kids will start to grow attached to each other in somewhat like a relationship system, and you'll have to navigate that as you try to use it to your advantage. People who have played this game have described the story being pretty dark at times as the children are in a war, but it's a good story nonetheless. Fuga Melodies of Steel is now available to play on Game Pass today. So Valheim is set to hit Game Pass for consoles in 2023, but it's coming much sooner for Game Pass on PC on September 29th. This is a brilliant survival exploration sandbox game based on Vikings lore, where you're going to build your way up through almost like a tier system as you gather resources, you build a home, you'll be crafting weapons and gear, and you're going to take on some pretty epic boss battles, and every time you take out one of these bosses, you unlock even more stuff to build and craft and explore. It's not one of those annoying survival games where you have to constantly drink and feed yourself to stay alive. Exploring in this game is super satisfying as you'll be finding random caves, homes, and you'll be building sailboats from scratch to sail across the high seas. I personally love this game and I think it's a must play this September, especially for those who have Game Pass with PC. So Evil's a new multiplayer game, kind of in the same vein as Among Us. You're either going to take on the role of a villager trying to stay alive, or a conspirator as you try to pull off some secret murders. Each day that passes, the villagers vote on who they suspect and who's going to be executed. Meanwhile, during the day, the villager takes on quests and activities that hopefully helps you survive the night as the murderer runs free trying to kill you. Oh, and death is not the end, as you come back as a ghost who can help the living character stay alive and affect the game in a big way. The roles are completely random at the start of the game. It's going to be your job to find out who is who in what is largely a social game. If you guys wanted to play a title like Among Us only in a fantasy setting with a unique twist, Evil might be up your alley, as it hits consoles and PC Game Pass on October 11th. So Dyson Sphere Programs, a game about running intergalactic factories in space as you work to develop your starting workshop into a full-blown galaxy-wide industrial powerhouse. As with these types of games, you'll be building up your production lines, collecting resources, and designing the best empire you can in space. Each playthrough is procedurally generated, so it does ensure the game stays fresh at all times. This one hits Game Pass on October 13th. So Let's Build Azusa sandbox title where you create your own animal empire, and this is a very deep title. You can import and breed rare creatures, you can even DNA splice and try combining 300,000 different types of combinations to make your very own unique animal to attract visitors. You'll also be hiring your staff, you'll be keeping those visitors happy, and you're going to come across a wider range of random events with over hundreds of animals that you can add to the zoo, lots of control over your own oasis. Guys, there's no short of content to dive into in Let's Build a Zoo. This hits Game Pass on September 29th. Alright, so we have the infamous JRPG Persona series, and this is making its way onto Game Pass with Persona 5 Royal. That puts you in the shoes of a high school student that spends nights masked and saving the world by entering the mind of corrupt people trying to take down the world. But when you're not fighting baddies, during the day you're just a student living day to day doing daily activities. Maybe you'll find a job to earn money to get a sweet new weapon, or you'll explore the city of Tokyo just to find more stories to engage with. Now, this is a pretty deep title with potential of tons of hours to dive into. I mean, you can go 100 plus, and the gameplay with Persona 5 is pretty leveled up. The turn-based system is one of the more well done and engaging ways to combat I've seen personally to a turn-based system, and with Royal being the special edition of Persona 5, you're getting the base game on top of 40 items of previously released DLC, which includes more story, more things to explore within Tokyo, and even alternate endings. I'm personally not the biggest JRPG guy, but the Persona series, guys, is a special one, and I recommend to anyone who just likes RPGs in general. This one is set to hit Game Pass on October 21st. And with that, guys, we have a ton of games announced for Game Pass with no specific date, starting with GoldenEye 007 Remastered. This is the classic N64 title released all the way back in 1997, only this is coming with 4K resolution on Xbox, better and smoother frame rates, and the iconic 4-player split-screen local multiplayer that I used to game with back in the day as a very small kid. Unfortunately, no gameplay yet, but a few screenshots and no release date, but it is confirmed for Game Pass at some point. Now, our next game on the list is The Big Con, and here you're going to hustle through 90s America as a runaway teen con artist. You'll be doing a series of grifts like pickpocketing, sneaking around, wearing disguises, lockpicking, and the game's meant to be a funny coming-of-age 90s throwback. This hits Game Pass sometime in 2022. Our next title is Rainbow Billy. This is a wholesome puzzle adventure platformer with some RPG mixed in, where you explore a world with 85 islands and caves. There's tons of mini games and collectibles scattered throughout what promises to be a pretty family-friendly time. Rainbow Billy is set to hit Game Pass sometime this year. Now, a series I'm very familiar with in The Walking Dead final season has also been announced for Game Pass. This is a story-based title where your choices matter as you make crucial and hard decisions, usually life or death, to survive in a zombie apocalypse. Typically, these types of games have multiple endings and play out like a movie. Expect to see this one on Game Pass sometime this year. And that brings us to a brand new title in Homestead Arcana. This is a new twist on the farming sim genre as you build your own farm from the ground up while growing plants that help you power up spells and heal nature as you discover that the land has been corrupted. Now, there's a big element of exploring, especially as you'll be discovering new seeds, recipes, and knowledge, and you'll be running into creatures roaming free that you'll have to battle, all the while you try to become an all-powerful witch who tries to heal the world with farming and magic. Homestead Arcana is set to touch down on Game Pass sometime sometime in 2023. Now, earlier in this video, we talked about the Ni no Kuni series and how the first one has hit Game Pass. Well, number 2 in Revenant Kingdom Remastered will join in 2023 as you help Evan unite the world and save its people. Interesting part about number 2, that it's actually pretty different from the first outside of the world. This one features like a full-blown action RPG combat versus the first one that's a hybrid turn-based battle, and the second is still gorgeous in regards to the art style, but the cool thing is this one won't take long to hit Game Pass either. This one hits sometime in early 2023. So we have a pair of fighting games starting with Guilty Gear Strive. This is a game that immediately stands out with its striking anime visuals with a mixture of 2D and 3D cel-shaded graphics, but the over-the-top action gameplay here is where the fun is, and it does have a pretty interesting story you'll be following as well. The game does claim that it's very welcoming for people who are new to the fighting genre, which is great for me because I'm terrible at these types of games, but it's also very creative if you're a veteran of this genre. We won't have to wait long for this one as it hits Game Pass in spring of 2023. Now, our other fighter is BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, where this one features 4 different universes combined as you play characters from the Persona series, Under Night in Birth, RWBY series, and of course BlazBlue itself. Now, as the name of the game suggests, this one's all about the 2 versus 2 tag battles. It's another great title with great visuals, smooth fighting gameplay, and really lots to sink into if you guys are a fan of the fighting genre. This also hits Game Pass in spring of 2023. So the newest Turnip Boy makes a comeback in Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, only this time you're teaming up with the Pickled Gang to execute the craziest heists of all time. You'll be shaking down hostages, you'll be battling the Fuzz, stealing huge treasures, all in the name of pulling off the perfect heist. Expect intense shootouts with police, SWAT teams, and plenty of explosions. This one, I have to say, looks like an absolute blast as it hits Game Pass sometime in 2023. And our final game on the list today, Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. Here you play as a nameless soldier fighting to survive the latter part of the Han Dynasty. Demons have invaded the 3 kingdoms. You're going to be squaring off against these deadly creatures and deadly enemy soldiers with the full intent of ending your crusade as quick as you can as you try to overcome the insurmountable odds. The gameplay, guys, though, immediately is what shines with Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. The mixture of the swordplay and the Chinese martial arts for me makes this one of the more anticipated Game Pass games to hit in early 2023. And Wo Long Dynasty will not be the only big title coming to Game Pass, guys. We have some massive ones, including huge first-party titles you guys don't want to miss. Make sure you guys click the video on the screen to find out more.